respected speaker Aishwarya A.V. Raj, an independent multimedia journalist and non-fiction writer whose work focuses on caste, labor, gender, active rights, and social justice through a fully Ambedkari perspective. Their impactful work has been featured on platforms like Project Police, the MOOC Nayak, and the Quint, and has also received multiple UNFPA Lardli Media Award for gender sensitive writing. So, today's topic of the discussion is democracy as analyzed by Dr. Ambedkar. We are grateful to have you with us today and we look forward to learning from you through and insight. I humbly request you to kindly begin your session. Thank you.
Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim. Thank you so much, Prerna, for that introduction. It was really lovely. And thank you so much for having me and extending the invite to me for this particular session to Anna. So thank you so much, Anna, for having me. I think we can skip the introduction because the introduction part already Prerna has done that very wonderfully. Um, just adding little points to what we are going to do in today's session. So we are going to do three things in this particular session today. So the first thing is that there is this particular reading of, this particular chapter done by Dr. Ambedkar, which is named as Caste, Class, and Democracy. So we are going to walk through that particular chapter and not in a very academic, jargonish tone per se, but then also like trying to understand what kind of predictions or what kind of critique is being offered by Dr. Ambedkar Baba Sahib in that particular chapter. And the second thing that we're trying to do today is that we are going to understand what does this chapter that was written in 1946 mean for us today. What understanding of democracy do we get from that particular chapter, and how that understanding is necessarily very critical in sort of analyzing what is happening around us, especially in India, especially in South Asia, and the importance of those incidents are not just limited to India and South Asia, but it extends to the global domain per se. So that is the second thing that we will try to think of in this particular session. And the third thing that we will try to do is something that will not happen in this particular session, but it will happen after the session has ended. What I mean to say is that whatever we will discuss in this particular reading, Caste, Class, and Democracy, and the parallels of that analysis that we will understand in contemporary context, we will try to keep thinking of what we have discussed or what we have heard in this particular session even after the session ends. And why I suggest doing that is because it makes the writings that was written in the past by the anti-caste leaders very relevant in the present. That also helps us understand why going back to the anti-caste legacy is very important in the present and also in the future. So these are the three things that we will try to do in this particular session. So I will first maybe begin with why I have chosen this particular reading for this particular session. I'm very sure that all of us must have heard about this Cockroach Janata Party that is all over the internet. It has very like grand following. The number of following has even crossed this particular party in India, right? So, and then there was very interesting thing that happened, I think last week or last to last week, which was that when this particular founder of Cockroach Janata Party, BJK, sort of as reply to one of the tweets, he revealed that he's from Dalit community. There was a lot of tweets that sort of was very hateful towards his caste identity, right? So all of this is happening in a democracy where everybody is progressive until the caste hatred that has been historically given to the Indian community does not show up. And it's very interesting because Dr. Ambedkar had analyzed this nature of democracy as early as when he was very actively working in academia and in the social activism domain that he was active in, right? So this particular reading interests me because it's a very short reading. It's not as complex a reading as some of Dr. Ambedkar's other writings, which is more which needs more support in terms of understanding them thoroughly. This reading, unlike some of his other work, is rather little simpler. Is rather little. I mean, it at least to me it comes across as little less denser in terms of the language, but it has very critical things to say. So now this was the background of why we are doing this reading and how it connects to the contemporary things that is going around us. So we will come to the reading itself. Okay, so before coming to the reading, there's another thing. I mean, because my introduction is very much related to journalism, so maybe I mean some of the audience or some of the listeners might be thinking, why am I like moderating a session where I'm engaging with the reading and rather not talking about my journalistic work? Is because there's a part of the introduction that is that I did not give in the bio in the introduction part, which is that I'm a research scholar based in India, currently enrolled in University of Delhi, and my research work engages with how the different systems of domination like caste, gender, disability sort of intersects in the politics of knowledge. So when we talk about politics of knowledge, journalism becomes a very, very small part of it. The larger part of politics of knowledge happens from the academic space itself. And caste, class and democracy is a very seminal reading in terms of understanding how the politics of knowledge and democracy sort of intersects and overlaps in that sense, right? So, okay. So, what what this reading does, what this reading is doing, yeah. So, what this reading is doing is that Dr. Ambedkar in this reading is giving us a twofold critique. The first critique is the critique of the Western liberal values. And what Dr. Ambedkar says is that these Western liberal values might look very applicable to India. They might look very suitable for the Indian democracy. But this kind of suitability is sort of superficial because suitability is just the form of these Western liberal values. Meaning, when we look at the content, the inside, the constituents of these Western liberal values, they sort of do not possess those qualities which is needed to make it successful in context of Indian democracy post independence, because we have to remember that this is a work that he did in 1946, right? So this is the first line of critique that he offers us. The second line of critique that he offers is very much central to the governing class. Who is the governing class? Who is the servile class? And how does Congress sort of engages with the understanding of the governing class and the servile class? So, amongst the foreigners, there was a very popular understanding that if India is independent, the people are going to be the holders of the power in the democracy. It is going to be a rule by the people. And what Dr. Ambedkar tells us is that if the power shifts from the hands of the Britishers into the hands of the Congress, the kind of dominating structure of caste and the dominating kind of power dynamics that exists between the governing class and between the servile class is going to remain as it is. Meaning, Congress is not going to be that factor that will be the reason of allowing everyone in India to have equal importance, to have equal share, to have equal say in democracy. And the reason that he points out is how this reading progresses, how his analysis, how his critique progresses per se. So now we have an idea of what is going to happen in this particular reading that we are going through. Right. Very, very interestingly, he points out, Dr. Ambedkar points out that when we say words like nation, when we say words like country, right, when we say words like nagarik, citizen, right, so he says that these words we oftentimes in our everyday conversation use it very one word in the place of the other. We sort of treat all these words as similar, as same in fact, as equal in fact, but these words are not, they might be equal in terms of philosophy, but they are not the same words when we look at it sociologically. And then he makes a very important underlining that freedom of the country, freedom of India after 1947 will not necessarily mean that it will be freedom of the people and of every person, of every class, of every caste in India. So this is the distinction that he draws between freedom of country and freedom of people, and which is very important because in 1946 nobody is looking at what the freedom will look like in free India critically. The wider cinema that everybody is watching, the wider film that everybody is being shown is that once India is free, the freedom is going to be equally distributed across caste, class, and gender. And this is something that Dr. Ambedkar is very mindful when he's doing this kind of critical analysis, when he's pointing out the flaws of the Indian democracy that possibly would be right. And this very famous line that oftentimes on Ambedkar Jayanti and other important birth dates and death dates and all those important dates related to Dr. Ambedkar, this particular quote floats on social media where he says that in India there would be, I mean, even if India achieves a kind of political democracy, the social democracy in India would not, I mean, it would be in sort of dichotomy with the political democracy in India. This is one very famous quote that I have seen on all the Ambedkarite and the all kind of academic and non-academic pages where Dr. Ambedkar is quoted. So this particular quote is taken from this reading that we are doing today, this reading that we are discussing today, right? Yeah. So what we understood is that Dr. Ambedkar is trying to draw a distinction between freedom of people and freedom of country, and then he proceeds to point out two important things. I mean, two things that was talked by everyone at that point of time: the Indian, the Britishers, the British officers, the Indian officials, the Congress. Everybody was talking about this two particular category. The first category was of constitutional morality, Samvidhanik Naitikta, which means that once there is a constitution, the constitution sort of promotes a morality, and everybody in the country will be abiding by that morality. And that morality is constituted through a series of habits of the people under that constitution, right? This series of habits include free speech, it includes the tendency of people to be critical of the authority. It includes a kind of trust that I will have on my fellow citizen, that we both are abiding by the Constitution. So he says that these are few habits that when people do repeatedly in a democracy, it sort of maintains and promotes and constitutes a kind of morality, a kind of umbrella morality, which is the morality above all the religious morality, above all the community based morality. That is the constitutional morality, right? So it was a very buzzword. Like these days, we have on the internet the buzzwords. There's a trend, there's a buzzword. So it was a very social buzzword at that point of time. So Dr. Ambedkar engages with this buzzword. He sort of redefines and defines how people were understanding this idea of constitutional morality, right? And then he moves to the second buzzword, which is adult suffrage, which means that after freedom, after independence, the government that will be self-governed, meaning everybody would be participating equally in the democracy. This is the wider picture, the wider film that Congress was showing to everyone, and everyone was under the impression that this is what the freedom would look like. Even the foreigners were sort of under this impression. So he brings this idea that everyone has one vote, and it looks like everyone holding that one vote is sort of promoting equity, equality between the citizen in this free country. But then he questions both the things. He questions the idea of government by the people, and he questions the idea of constitutional morality. And he says that in India, these Western ideas of constitutional morality, of this adult suffrage, is very, I mean, it is very inclined to failing. Why? Because in India, the political democracy is not going to be aligned with the social democracy, right? Now, social democracy is a very important word, and we would come to it again. We would come to how Dr. Ambedkar sort of gives his critique on why this kind of misalignment is very much to happen post freedom, post 1947 in India. So he says that now we are free, now we have a constitution, we are going to have a government, there is going to be freedom. But before this system, before this Vyavastha was in place, historically in India, there has been a governing class, right? And he says that Brahmins, this community or this class of Brahmins, why do I use the word class? I'm using the word class instead of caste because that is how originally in the reading he mentions this particular community as a class because he is also trying to talk about how the social inequality and the economic inequality is related. The Marxist schools, the left sees class as something very, disassociated from the caste kind of systemic inequality. But Dr. Ambedkar sort of takes this understanding, this Marxist understanding, but then sort of roots it in the Indian reality, in the South Asian reality, which is very much informed by this hierarchy of caste, by this hierarchy of varnashram dharma, right? So he says that this governing class, this historically made, maintained governing class is the Brahmin class, and uh, the Brahmin class is the ideology, it's the brain, it's the ideological sort of umbrella that sort of operates everything that is happening. It controls everything that happens to the other classes. And this particular Brahmin class is the ideological class. It's the brain. It's the epistemology. It sort of it joins hands with the earlier in India, he says that the Brahmin class did join hand with the Kshatriya community because the Kshatriya community brought the kind of power, the kind of human power, the kind of muscle power, and that is how muscle power and brain. The Kshatriya class and the Brahmin class sort of combined together and sort of maintained this idea of governing class. And this governing class made sure that the Shudras and the Atishudras continue to be the servile class, the serving class, the slave class, the servant class. Uh, and very interestingly, I mean, as a researcher, when I engage with readings of, I mean, other philosophers apart from Dr. Ambedkar, sometimes they sort of talk about many abstract ideas, but very often they miss out on taking the real life example of a given space of a given time. But Dr. Ambedkar is a very smart thinker. He's a very brilliant writer. So what he does is that he's giving us these theories, he's giving us these analysis, he's giving us these critiques. But then he's also saying that if people think that what I'm saying is very abstract, then let us look at two things. And these two things are his tests, where he sort of uses these tests to sort of confirm the power of the governing class, right? Or the power imbalance between the governing class and the servile class. So he one very common example, which is I mean common in India, and I think wherever Indian communities goes, it is common in all parts of that world, is that the test of sentimentality. This, and he says that this test of sentimentality is a broader problem. It's a far, I mean, it goes beyond the social inequality. It goes beyond economical inequality because if a person of Shudra and Ati Shudra Hindu community is, say, sitting in a space, and if a Brahmin person enters that space, a very, a very respect kind of gesture comes from within the Hindu Shudra and the Ati Shudra, I mean, the word Hindu and Ati Shudra can be a kind of debate in that say, but let's understand what we are trying to say instead of going into the linguistic complexities of it. So what he says that there's a kind of respect, there's a kind of, and this respect is maintained. It was created by the governing class towards themselves by sort of subjugating, by oppressing the Shudras and the Ati Shudra community, by suppressing this servile class. So whenever a Brahmin enters the room, this person from the servile class will always address the Brahmin as Swami, even though that person could be less educated formally, even though that person could be younger in age, even though that person is a stranger whom the Shudra person has just met. So, this address of Swami shows that there's a kind of internal slavery, there's a kind of internal kind of belittling that the person has internalized in themselves. And it happens on the level of emotion, on the level of sentiments. This kind of internalization, subjugation goes beyond the social and the economic paradigm, right? So he says that this is a test of how there is a difference, there is a hierarchy between the governing class and between the servile class. And this is a very everyday test. I mean, even if you go to very rural part of India today, I mean, I would just maybe give an example from my own village. I am a native of Bihar. When I'm speaking in this session, I'm currently in Bihar only. I have just like come back from Delhi to my hometown. So the maternal side of my family still lives in rural Bihar, right? And whenever this particular Brahmin person will go to people's house, even the eldest person, I mean, say this Brahmin person is say 30-year old, but in the family, a 80-year-old woman will come and sort of show some action of respect. I would either they would say Pranam Panditji, or she would just touch his feet, or she would just like bow down a bit. So it shows that this kind of respect is not gained. This kind of respect is hereditary passed in the class, in the caste kind of understanding. And this kind of hereditary making of the governing class is capturing of power by the governing class over the servile class through centuries historically. And Dr. Ambedkar says that this is not going to change even if India gets free, even if India has its freedom. It would be freedom of the country, because when we say people, the Ati Shudra and the Shudra people, the servile class people also constitute this category of people of India. And until unless they sort of have this kind of internalized servile quality to them, they cannot sort of participate in the equalness of the democracy that would be ongoing in the India post 1947. Second test that he gives is very data based test. So he sort of takes this data of 1948 Madras presidency census data, and he says that this particular class named Brahmin is very small part of the population, but they I mean, if I have to say the exact data, so he says that they're just 3% of the population, but they occupy 37% of the gazetted post of the very grade A level, very bureaucratic post. So the 3% population is occupying 37% of the gazetted post, right? This is the government data taken in 1948 and published in 1948. Right. So, and then he says that the Shudra community or the Ati Shudra community is rather more in terms of their population, but their participation in these kind of high rank post, the bureaucratic post, the gazetted officer post is very less. And this disparity shows that there is a kind of like a imbalance in terms of the power distribution. So what Dr. Ambedkar does is that he gives us understanding of governing class and the servile class in terms of sentimentality, and secondly in terms of the data that the government has only given to us at that point of time. Why is he doing that? I mean, the question could be that does Dr. Ambedkar or does any anti-caste thinker hold certain, certain kind of negative bias towards a particular community, towards a particular class? This is a question that could come, because I think before my session we were talking about kindness. We were talking about being kind to everybody, being sympathetic and empathetic to everybody. So the question could be, when we are saying Jai Bhim and Namo Buddhaya together, and we are talking about Dr. Ambedkar, who is sort of critiquing a particular class. So then, how does this critique go with kindness? I mean, that could be a question that could arise in mind of anyone. And I think this question, the existence of this question itself is very fictitious, because the answer is in Dr. Ambedkar's whole body of work, right? Because Dr. Ambedkar is talking in favor of the already marginalized community. He is talking in favor of the Shudra and Ati Shudra community. He is talking for the democratic rights for the communities that has been historically lesser in the power dynamics. That means the whole project, the whole academic project of Dr. Ambedkar, his whole the social activism project, his political project is very much informed from the principles of kindness and empathy, and then sort of respecting each other kind of situation, which is not allowed when the philosophy of Brahmanism dominates, right? Now, we have a new word here, philosophy of Brahmanism. What is philosophy of Brahmanism? Why is philosophy of Brahmanism anti-kindness? Why is philosophy of Brahmanism anti sort of promoting a kind of harmony and equality between everybody of the human community? So Dr. Ambedkar points out, he says that there are six sort of cardinal values that is very integral to the philosophy of Brahmanism. And these are very very pointed, very objective kind of written values that he gives us through this reading. And he says that the first value is that Brahmanism, the philosophy of Brahmanism, sort of is very at maintaining the graded inequality between the classes. So what it does is that it gives us a society which has different classes, and there is a kind of graded inequality between all of them. So it gives us a hierarchical structure. It's very anti-kind, it's very anti-human. And Brahmanism ensures that this hierarchy is maintained. This kind of inequality, graded inequality, is maintained between the people in the Indian democracy, right? And he says that it also sort of argues, Brahmanism argues for subjugation of women. It does not look at women as equal subjects, as equal citizens. He also points out that Brahmanism sort of bans the servile class, the Shudra and the Ati Shudra community, from acquiring of land, from acquiring a position that is sort of higher rank in the bureaucratic sort of structure. Uh, this Brahmanism, philosophy of Brahmanism, bans Shudra and Ati Shudra community from acquiring of education. Now, this is very important for all of us in this particular session. That Brahmanism is not just, I mean, it's not just limiting our present. It has limited the past, it is limiting the present, but it is also limiting the future of Shudra and Ati Shudra community when it is banning the access of education for women and Shudra and Ati Shudra community. It is sort of taking away the power of having dreams for these servile class. It is sort of taking away the power of having a better future, having better opportunity, having better understanding of knowledge. And knowledge, of course, it opens wonderful gates for us. I mean, just before my session, um, there were children from Anna who were, reciting these very beautiful stories, short stories. So how did they come to know about these stories? They read books. They sort of used their own critical thinking, their own creative thinking. So this is what knowledge does to us. Knowledge is important for us at all points of our life, be it our childhood, be it our early teenage, so on and so forth. So Brahmanism is very cruel because it's sort of taking away this very human, exploratory, emancipatory tool of knowledge, of access to knowledge, away from Shudra and Ati Shudra community. And this is how governing class makes sure that they remain the governing class and the servile class continues to be the servile class. So he says, Dr. Ambedkar says that because this governing class and servile class, they cannot just disappear after 1947, because India has very inherent this blood of Brahminism flows in the veins of the countries and the villages and the cities of India. And until unless we don't address it, Congress is going to come, a new government is going to come, a new kind of cinema of freedom is going to come, but that would be very superficial. This whole structure of freedom is going to be very hollow from inside. It is not going to be pro people, pro all the people of this country. And he gives us very interesting examples. I mean, he gives us examples of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, where Bal Gangadhar Tilak, in sort of one of his speeches, in one of his conversations, says that if, I mean, Bal Gangadhar Tilak mentions this particular communities of oil pressers, washermen. So he says that if the people from oil pressing community, people from this washerman community, if they come to the legislative space, what would be the value of legislative space? So he sort of mocks these communities. He says that the people from this community are not smart enough, they are not brilliant enough, they are not creative enough to be part of the legislative representative system. This is what Bal Gangadhar Tilak has said on record, and Dr. Ambedkar quotes Bal Gangadhar Tilak, right? He also quotes um, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. I mean, another very, very known figure. I mean, when I was a child, I used to read about these people in my history books without knowing that their understanding of democracy was so limited, which Dr. Ambedkar has pointed out. So, again, coming back to the example, so Dr. Ambedkar points out that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel once said that this particular community, Mochi, the cobblers, I mean, if Khanchis and Mochis are invited to the political consultancy, there is no point of political consultancy, because the average IQ of the room goes down if people from Ghanchi and Mochi community is part of a political consultancy. And this is, I mean, if you listen to the statement of Mr. Patel carefully, it's not just derogatory to particular community of India. Rather, it also sort of assumes a kind of Brahminical superiority of certain classes, especially those classes which make the governing class. And Dr. Ambedkar says that however progressive the people from the governing class would be, their conditioning, their community value, their historical understanding of the society is so much informed by Brahminism that they sort of tend to hold to that idea of superiority. And this idea of superiority that they have about themselves will not allow them to work in favor of the servile class, even if they occupy the positions of power in this free country. And therefore, Dr. Ambedkar is warning the foreigners, the Britishers, about Congress. So, this particular reading, Caste, Class, and Democracy, that we are discussing today was, I mean, the name of the reading was not this. It was earlier known as a plea to the foreigner. इस नाम से, इस title से ये reading था, and then later now we read this particular text as caste, class, and democracy. So the agenda, I mean, the main concern of the Dr. Ambedkar was having is that what will happen to the people of the servile class after democracy, and this concern makes him write to the foreigner. This particular concern makes him appeal to everybody. I mean, every eye, every attention that is there on Indian freedom struggle and the freedom that India will have at that point of time, that particular historical point of time. Right. So Dr. Ambedkar is sort of he's not. I mean, he is of course in this reading critiquing the then present, whatever was the reality of that time. He is borrowing his analysis from the how the his history and the past of India was, but why, I mean, why did I pick this reading for this particular session? Now we have come to the last part of this session. So I mean, I would just wind up my session in say a few minutes by underlining the importance of his analysis in 2026, right? So I mean, for example, uh, what I mean, in one line, if we have to say what he is doing in this reading, is that he's underlining how what are the loopholes of Indian democracy, and those loopholes are very much centered around this inequality between the classes, right? Um, and again, I would go back to this Cockroach Janta Party example, with which I started my session today. So when Cockroach Janta Party came as a body, as a voice who is critical of the government, people across castes supported Cockroach Janta Party, right? Who were critical of the government. People across communities. I mean, the OBCs, the upper castes. I mean, all kinds of category, legislative category that is there in India. People from some people from all of these different caste categories supported Cockroach Janta Party because they were critical about the current government, right? But interestingly, as soon as the caste location of the founder of the Cockroach Janta Party was revealed, people started sort of displaying their open hate, right? And this is very ironical. This is very ironical because the same person who was supporting Cockroach Janta Party for being critical of the government suddenly does not like Cockroach Janta Party because they come to know that the founder of this particular, this particular group is from this particular caste community. And that shows that even if people want to critique the authority through constitutional morality, through the idea of political democracy, the inequality because of caste, which fractures the social democracy, will never align the holistic picture of democracy to happen that we see from this particular example, right? Maybe I will take another example. So, I mean, maybe I am forgetting the timeline, but uh, this particular year, or maybe I think it was in February or January, if I'm not wrong, this UGC bill. I mean, there was again a lot of articles, a lot of posts, a lot of, I mean, Twitter kind of storm on the UGC regulation bill. So this particular UGC regulation bill was to assure that the Dalit Bahujan Adivasi and the disabled students and the women and any kind of like marginalized group identity or group student in the higher education space does not get discriminated against, right? So this is what UGC bill was saying. The crux of it was that, I mean, the discussion of the bill would be another session, but I'm just talking about the crux of it. And that bill received a lot of protest on social media, in universities, on the roads, right? And the reason of the protesters for protesting was, if a kind of safeguard is provided to the Dalit Bahujan Adivasi students, the Dalit Bahujan Adivasi students might use those laws against the non-Dalit Bahujan Adivasi or the Divij Savarna students. So the Divij Savarna students started to protest against this bill. And there are many reels on the Instagram, right? And if you just scroll through these reels, the protest is not neutral in its tone, right? The tone of this protest also underlines the superiority of the identity of the protester. So the protester is assuming that they are superior. The protester is assuming that they will not do any kind of harm to the already marginalized community. And they are saying that the laws could be used against them. So these three are the important features, characteristics of all these protesting voices. Now it tells us something very interesting. It takes us back to the words of Patel. It takes us back to the words of Mr. Tilak. It sort of gives us the idea that this kind of inferiority and superiority and this kind of inequality between the human that is there in the communities because and just because of the accident of their birth, right? There is no merit to it. There is no hard work that people have done to reach where they have reached. It's just the mere accident of birth that has placed them where they are. And that mere accident of birth, when looked in terms of their class/caste location, gives them a kind of authority to sort of marginalized, to sort of protest against the laws that speak in favor of social justice, right? And I think people have spoken about it before, but I would just like to underline, because I spoke about UGC, and there's an article that I have co-written with one of my friends. It's there on India Forum, where we analyze why this kind of protest is very, I mean, it's very discriminatory in nature, although I mean, people think that every protest is very progressive, but this, I mean, protest has a very regressive, very anti-social justice tone to it, right? So, I mean, we have laws in India, we have laws across the world in favor of the LGBT community, in favor of the disabled community, in favor of any kind of marginalized community, in favor of women. We have dowry laws here. So, again, assuming that the already privileged community, if the already privileged community assumes that the sort of historically marginalized community will use the laws against them, this is a fallacy. This is a fallacy because otherwise no law can exist. UN cannot have any laws. UN cannot have any regulation. No body, no government, non-government body can make any law in favor of the marginalized, right? So this kind of fallacy was very much all over the internet and everywhere, and there was a lot of misinformation. And this air of misinformation, this air of anger against social justice, uh, aligning laws, again makes us think of Dr. Ambedkar's underlining of the disalignment that is going to be between the social democracy and the political democracy even post 1947. And the example, I mean, we have multiple examples of it in even in 2026. So yes, I think that is why, I mean, we could always go back to Dr. Ambedkar's work, and we always find resources there. We always find resources of understanding the world better when we read and reread him again. And especially as a journalist, as a writer, as academician, I think it always, I mean, it always gives me more perspectives of understanding the inequalities that is around in India, in South Asia, and the global context per se. Yes, so that was all from my side. If I would be now open to questions, if there are any. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Anna, for having me again. Jerry.
Prerna, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You want to take it forward, or if anyone from the audience, if you have any questions, kindly raise your hands, or please type your question in the chat. And I have a comment, like Aishwarya, like the kind of analysis you have done, it's really important in today's world, because we have seen it throughout the history, and it was only Baba Sahib who pointed it out and written it down. And that's how we understood the different perspective, that our community was not privileged to education and they could read it through the perspective of Dr. Ambedkar. And in today's world, when we see that, it's really heartbreaking that people, no matter how progressive they seem to be or they showcase to be, they still have this kind of prejudice, this kind of mentality. So how do you see, like, how can we break that? How can we help support more equanimity or more morality within the community? How would you address that?
So again, I would engage with this question. I would try to answer it with the disclaimer that every resource that we need today, we already have those intellectual resources in the works of the anti-caste scholars, be it Dr. Ambedkar, be it Jyotirao Phule, be it parts of work of Periyar and other, I mean, also the Bhakti anti-caste or the bhakti saints that we have, right? I mean, when Ravidas talks about Begumpura, I mean, he's sort of talking about a utopia. Even when there was no understanding of democracy, even when India did not have a constitution, this particular Begumpura utopia is a land, is a space where there is no kind of discrimination. So we have resources in the anti-caste legacy, in the anti-caste history itself. I think what we can do is that we can keep going back to them in terms of reading them, in terms of engaging with them. I mean, because I come very much from the practice of reading, so I would always encourage. I understand that many of you are parents. I mean, because there were kids also in this session before. So I think we should all, I mean, whatever should be the or could be the professional discipline of the children of the community, particular text, particular works of the anti-caste leaders of the history that we have should be read by everyone. I mean, and I know it's a very tricky thing to say because we have come in the age of AI, the new generation. I mean, the generations to come would be, I don't know how much of the readers they would be. Maybe they would be more of the watchers. I mean, they would have reels and everything made of AI, a lot of AI boom and things. But I would still say, I mean, the medium of engagement could be reading, it could be listening, it could be watching, it could be anything. But the original text engagement is very important, right? The original words that the anti-caste leaders have given us, engaging with the original writing is very important. I mean, that is one thing. Second thing is that I think uh, we should be less stressed about what Brahmanism does to us, and we should be more concentrated about the rich work that we already have. I mean, when we concentrate more on the psychology of the oppressor, we tend to sort of internalize the inferiority more. And I think that is the biggest mistake that as communities that we do, because we have Dr. Ambedkar, which I mean, with number of prestigious degrees from the bestest of the universities of the world. So I think there's no lack of academic resource, there's no lack of spiritual resource, there's no lack of intellectual resource, there's no lack of cultural resource that we have. We just need to keep coming back to the resources that we have. I think that is the consistent process of keeping our own morality intact. I mean, this is the only that I can say. I mean, I don't have anything new to say because I think our anti-caste leaders already have said a lot. We just need to keep going back to it. And of course, we will have new problems in the world with the advent of new technology. There will be new modes of discrimination, but then how that discrimination has to be erased, the core of it, the spirit of that fight is already there in the works of our leaders.
Yeah, very, very well said. And thank you for that answer.
Okay.
And students like you and activists like you are really playing very important role. So kudos to you, all your work, and thank you for joining today. Prerna, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Aishwarya ma'am, for such a insightful and powerful session. Your words beautifully highlighted the realities of caste democracy and social inequality while also helping us better understand the vision of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We truly appreciate your valuable time, knowledge, and thoughts provoking perspective. And
We
with this,
we can still take a couple of questions, Prerna. So if
yeah,
anyone
yeah.
has any
If
questions, kindly raise your hand or please type them in the chat.
Hi, this is Manish. Thank you, Aishwarya, for your wonderful session on of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and political view. Um, I have one question here. Like I'm from Maharashtra, so I can see that people are well aware about Baba Sahib's thought process and they are like actively involved. And now I can see new faces from Bihar side like Kanchana Yadav, I'm sorry, and one more girl like political leader, I think from Samajwadi Party, if I'm not wrong, and they're putting those thought process very well on the in the media side, public facing, platforms. I just want to understand the how much people are aware in Bihar of that belt, how they are accepting Baba Saheb Ambedkar thought process, and what do you think, like how the political, how this shape will change, like political way, like how much people are adapting, and how they're moving forward on that.
Yeah, so okay, so I would answer this with the disclaimer that I don't have a kind of fieldwork on this. I mean, this is not something that I have thoroughly researched.
Sure,
So whatever I'm saying is my own personal observation. It is
sure.
not say a academic claim in that way. But I would say that, of course, Behenji Mayawati and then Kanshiram, and that phase was very important in terms of mobilizing people's sentimentality towards the anti-caste discourse in that sense, if we may say
Uh,
so.
I would like to add
Um,
here Lalu
uh,
Prasad Yadav name also in that in the legacy, because he also done very,
okay,
as
so
per my
I
understanding.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would not completely disagree in that sense, but I
Okay.
think the middle class, this Shudra, I mean, the historical category of Shudra, I mean, because they occupy the middle space in this graded inequality, they have the understanding that they are a class which is dominated by the governing class. The sort of discrimination by Brahminism is also because it has also happened with them and also continues to happen with them. It also happened with Lalu Prasad Yadav. It happened with Ramvilas Paswan. It happened with Jagdev Babu and others, right? So that kind of anti-caste, yeah, at least anti-Brahminical consciousness is there. So, but I would like to point out that there's a little difference between anti-caste and anti-Brahminism. When we say anti-Brahminism, people understand that there is a governing class, there is a system of Brahminism, and we are oppressed by it, and we are supposed to sort of struggle against it in whatever limited capacity, which Lalu Prasad Yadav and other people have also done. But I think there is a the tendency of anti-caste is little different because it talks about uh, annihilation of one's own power. It talks about reflecting on their own positionality in this graded inequality. It talks about reflecting on their own positionality as oppressor in context to the classes that lie below them in this hierarchy. So I think that kind of reflection is very rare in even in the political spaces which work with I mean ideas of anti-Brahminism. So I mean I would not like to hence make a generalized statement in that direction, but I would like to say that Bihar, because has seen lot of uprising against the Divij Savarna caste, it has a different understanding of anti-Brahminism and anti-caste, which looks different than Maharashtra, right? And what this difference is, again, now, I mean, it could be a whole paper in itself, it could be a whole conversation in it itself, but what I'm trying to underline is this.
Sure, sure. Thanks for answering my question. Yeah, that makes sense. I think Sunita, some her hand is raised. So Sunita, if you want, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, Aishwarya. This is Sunita Shambarkar from Texas. So, since you have started your analysis through this uprising cockroach party, right? So, and along with that, Dr. Ambedkar's anti-caste and other great leaders anti-caste movement. So, my question is, like, since you're from Bihar, so my particular question I'm going to ask you like that. What's your prediction for the future of the cockroach party in your home state? How do you see that coming forward, this party, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I am as much as an observer of Cockroach Janata Party as everyone else in the meeting is. And why I am saying is it because I am not directly a student of political science. I am not directly a student of sociology. I am mostly a student of philosophy. So I think because of my academic training in philosophy and in journalism, my mind is more trained to observe and make comments about what has happened until date, right? I think the prediction part of the political kind of events that happen, I think the people who are into political analysis, the people who sort of are academically trained in pol science, sort of has more epistemic authority. If epistemic authority could be the word to be commenting on it. So this is what I think. But personally, I have some opinions. I think personally, how I see it as a person, not as a researcher or as a journalist, but somebody like all of us who is observing this Janta Party come into being and then however it is evolving, is that it has some kind of potential because the new generation has sort of moved to social media, and in lot of aspect we cannot deny how much time this new generation or even sort of the millennials also spend on their phone. So how their sentiment, how their anger, how their grief, everything that the emotion box contain is sort of works in collaboration with social media. So of course, whatever registering of anger and frustration against the authority and the government is happening on social media through Cockroach Janta Party that we observe. I mean, we cannot discredit all of it, but I think there is lot that this potential can be explored towards. I mean, if Cockroach Janta Party has a particular number of following, they have power of number, right? They have power of algorithm, right? They have power of sharing, they have power of people watching them digitally and sort of engaging with them digitally. So now what they do with this kind of power, with this kind of resource, at least the algorithm and the digital resource that they have, depends on how the next few steps of the Cockroach Janta Party would be. For example, I think just a few days ago, they started some campaign where they asked all the youngsters to take a photo of an overflooding nala, or take photo of any kind of gendered or caste discrimination happening, or take a photo of a school building that is crashing almost, and then tag Cockroach Janta Party. And this is how like people are sort of registering the failing government architecture and the failing government policy, and at least make a database of it. So I think it could act as a good pressure group, and pressure group has played important role in history. So I mean, I would not like to discredit it, but I'm also interested and eager to understand how they are going to use the digital resource that they have made for themselves. But the resource that they have made is incredible. I mean, that due credit should be given to wherever due. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Aishwarya. It's a good analysis. Yeah, I like it, the way you explained it.
Okay, thank you, Aishwarya ma'am. If anyone have question, please raise your hand. Okay, with this, we come to the conclusion of today's online Buddha Vihara session. I sincerely thank respected Bhante Revta ji, our guest speaker Aishwarya A.V. Raj, and Risa for the wonderful children's story session. And I would like to thank Kranti ma'am and all the participants for joining the today's session. Your presence made today's session peaceful, meaningful, and memorable. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers and everyone who gave me the opportunity to host this session. It has been truly wonderful learning experience and honor for me to be the part of this beautiful session. I would like to conclude this with the beautiful quote of Gautam Buddha. In the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you get let go the things not meant for you. May we continue to walk on the path of wisdom, equality, peace, and compassion. Thank you, everyone, for your kindness and support. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.
Okay, Jai Bhim. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Jai Bhim.